Chris Cuomo, who along with Bill O'Reilly got a call from a guest who honestly schooled both of them over why the American people are sick and tired of the government lying to us. Cuomo's response reveals that you can take the Chris Cuomo out of CNN, but you can't take the CNN out of Chris Cuomo, as you're about to see. Speaking of CNN, they took the moral high ground and went after Joe Rogan again after he criticized the healthcare industry following the assassination of United Health CEO Brian Thompson. You're going to want to hear that ridiculous take. And finally, Joe Biden openly mocked Kamala Harris in a clip that I think puts the final nail in the coffin on the question of whether or not the Bidens voted for Trump. You're about to see she knew exactly what she was doing, and the crowd thought that this was hilarious. I'm Zach Costello, and this is the Zach Costello Show.
So I hope that you all feel that sense of, peace and light, and that just for a moment when you leave here today that you feel, a sense of joy. Because I think we all need we all need to feel joy now during this time of the season, during this time. So anyway, okay, now I'll start. You're all reading into that.
This comes after Joe Biden hung out with Donald Trump at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And clearly, especially since Jill is basically the president of the United States, she despises Kamala Harris. And you know what? Watching that did bring me some joy. On the other hand, watching CNN does not. Listen to this latest attack on Joe Rogan.
I don't think anybody's going to be crying too hard over that guy.
Yeah, maybe his family, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty, dirty business. The business of insurance is gross. It's gross. And especially healthcare insurance, just gross.
I have to say, this is so weird. Yeah. But a man was murdered in the streets of New York. And there's a conversation that's happening now about that stuff, but it's so interesting to see how quickly it's turned to health insurance executives are bad, actually, and that's the moral of the story?
Yeah, two things can be true at once. The healthcare industry can have major problems. It can be, as Joe Rogan was saying, a dirty, dirty business. But also, a human life was taken, a father, a husband, also on the streets of New York. I live in New York City. I could have been easily walking by right when that happened. Somebody else could have been killed. And so these two things can be true at the same time. And I think it is very disrespectful, not only to a human life, to somebody who was killed, to the people of New York City, but also to the debate that we could be having about the healthcare industry when you put it in these terms, when you celebrate something like this. Because, I'd like to see Joe Rogan say that to the face of the CEO's wife and his kids.
I'm sorry. Did Joe Rogan celebrate the CEO getting assassinated? Spare me, CNN. Joe Rogan was not advocating in any way for violence. He was simply stating what is true, and they acknowledged that it was true, that the health insurance industry is dirty, broken, in need of reform. The American people are sick and tired of our institutions that are supposed to be working for us, working against us. And we're sick and tired of the people that run these institutions getting rich and powerful off of our backs. And this is what the guest caller schools Chris Cuomo on here. Watch this.
I want to talk about accountability. At the end of the day, there's just never any accountability for government. They work for us, the American people, but they only just satisfy their own self-interest. They're just looking to protect their jobs and their salaries. I grew up, I was in college during 9/11. We said never again would our security be compromised. Look at what's happening over the skies of Jersey. I have family and friends that live there now. We're being deceived by government officials. They know things they're not sharing with us. And I can go on with the COVID lies, the vaccines, Biden's mental health, the media trying to censor things. At what point do we get answers? And that's why guys like this United Healthcare killer went on and became a vigilante. It's not right, but people don't trust the system anymore, so they're trying to take it in their hands. How do we fix this?
Well, number one, you can't be violent ever. Number two, you're right. There is an accountability, and they don't care about you in Paramus, New Jersey at all. Number three, never say at the end of the day again. And number four, there's really no solution other than to make your opinion known. Because you're right. They don't, when you have a president who's almost assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania, and we still don't know anything about the guy who pulled the trigger after all this time, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. But there's nobody that's looking at solving the problem. We can expose it, but we can't solve it. We don't have the power.
Right. But Andrew and others can reward people who are trying to get it done, who are trying to do better. And that's one of the choices he can make. Only caution I would give you is don't throw everything that's unknown in the same bucket. OK, the pandemic should be reviewed. The policies should be reviewed. But the idea that everything that was done there is the same like it is with the drones, where they know things and they just don't want to tell you. I don't believe that.
What this man says here on this call highlights precisely what most Americans are feeling. And when it comes down to it, this is why Trump was elected president. Yes, it's that simple. The left can hoot and holler and make stuff up about how Americans are racist, misogynist, whatever. No, we are sick and tired of these political and corporate elites who run these institutions that are supposed to be working for us, getting rich and powerful off of our backs. Am I advocating for us to become vigilantes? Not violent ones, but our system is broken. We need reform and we must fight. But that's what we're doing through free speech, through elections. That's what I'm doing here with my content. Each one of us is required to stand up for the truth. But when we resort to evil to bring about good, the moral fabric of our society falls apart. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. We've got to do this, but in the right way. I'm Zach Costello, and this is the Zach Costello Show.